The Bone Compass. A descent into cursed shadows. Scary story time in a jungle forsaken by light, where the air wept with ancient malice. A sunken temple lay hidden beneath choking vines and eternal mist. At its heart rested the Bone Compass, an artifact carved from the marrow of the damned, said to guide the bold to riches untold, or bind them to a curse that breathed. The locals whispered, "It doesn't point north, it points to death." This is the tale of Mara and her crew, who dared to chase its call, and woke a darkness that claims all who listen. Mara, 27, a hardened treasure hunter with a scar tracing her cheek, led her small team into the jungle's maw. Beside her was Elias, a wiry historian with a nervous laugh, clutching his journal of cryptic runes, and Kale, a grizzled ex-soldier with a pistol and a scowl, his eyes sharp for danger. They'd tracked the Bone Compass for months, a relic tied to a lost explorer's tale of golden screams. At the jungle's edge, a blind elder clutched Mara's arm, her voice a rasp. "It's no tool, it's a chain. Something owns it, and it's starving." Kyle snorted, but Elias paled, muttering about blood rituals. Mara's grin was steel. She'd beaten tombs before. This was her triumph. Days bled into nights as they slashed through the jungle, the trees twisting into skeletal forms, their branches dripping red sap that hissed on the ground. Whispers rode the wind, soft then sharp, calling their names. On the fifth dusk, they found it, the temple, half drowned in a swamp, its stone archway carved with eyeless skulls weeping tar. Inside, the air pulsed with rot, the walls slick with crimson veins that throbbed faintly. Mara's flashlight caught the Bone Compass atop a pedestal of jagged bones, its needle twitching, alive. She seized it, and the temple roared, a wail like 1,000 throats torn open. The needle spun, then pointed deeper, burning her palm with a voice. "Come, see." Elias dropped his journal, stammering about a warning rune. "The bound one waits." Kyle drew his gun, but the shadows moved, figures darting, their footsteps mirroring the team's. The tunnels tightened, carvings of skeletal hands clawing throats lining the walls. The compass led them to a sealed door, its stone etched with claw marks, oozing black ichor. Kyle kicked it open, and a gust of frigid air sucked them in, Elias tripping, his scream cut short as the dark swallowed him. Mara and Kyle pressed on, the compass humming louder, its whispers now a chorus weaving their fears into words. The chamber beyond was a cathedral of nightmares, bones woven into the ceiling, dripping tar that formed writhing shapes in the water below. The Bone Compass flared, its needle spinning wildly as the floor split, black water erupting with skeletal hands, some human, some twisted beyond form, clawing at their legs. The walls pulsed, bleeding ichor that burned the air, and a chorus of voices rose, lost souls chanting their names in a tongue of the dead. From the pit emerged the bound one, a towering monstrosity, its body a tapestry of bones and decayed flesh, its face a hollow mask with red eyes blazing, twin compasses fused to its chest, their needles locked on Mara and Kale. "You called," it hissed, its voice a storm of agony. Kyle fired, bullets sinking into its flesh, only to dissolve, his gun melting in his hands. The hands dragged him down, snapping his legs as he roared, his body yanked into the water, his screams bubbling up, then silenced. Mara swung her machete, but the blade shattered, its dust swirling into the bound one's maw. The compass in her hand pulsed, forcing her arm to rise, guiding her deeper as the chamber quaked, vines lashing like serpents, stones crashing. She fought, but Elias stumbled from the shadows, his eyes gone, his mouth stretched in a wail, his hands clawing at her as the chorus poured from him. Join, lead. The bound one seized her, its claws piercing her chest, her blood mingling with the tar as it tore the compass free, fusing it to her ribs. The temple sank, the pit widening into a vortex of bones and water. Mara's vision faded, her reflection in the black pool showing red eyes and a grinning maw, her voice now part of the chant, calling out. Weeks later, a new team found the temple still, the bone compass back on its pedestal, its needle twitching. At night, the jungle hums with 3 voices, Mara's among them, whispering your name, the compass glowing faintly, daring you to take it and follow. The veiled abyss, a deadly quest through cursed peaks. High in a forsaken mountain range, where storms carved scars into the stone, a hidden rift tore through the peaks. The veiled abyss, a chasm shrouded in mist and whispered curses. Legends told of the Crimson Shard, a relic lost with a 19th century expedition, said to unlock forbidden knowledge or awaken a terror that feasts on the living. The locals spoke in hushed tones. The abyss doesn't let go. Carved into a cliff, a faded warning from a climber read, "We sought truth. It sought us." This is the tale of Zara and her crew, who scaled the heights, braved the unknown, and plunged into a nightmare that binds the bold to its depth. Zara, 29, a climber with ice in her blood and a scar from a Himalayan fall, gathered her team for the climb of a lifetime. Finn, a wiry geologist with a battered compass and a love for cave systems, mapped their route. Lena, a steely tracker with a rifle and a knack for reading trails, scanned for threats. And Jace, a rookie photographer with a drone and a hunger for viral glory, documented every step. Their prize, the Crimson Shard, tied to logs of a lost team who'd vanished after reporting a red light that moves. At base camp, a one-eyed guide thrust a tattered journal at Zara, pages of frantic scrawl. "It's alive! Don't climb!" She smirked, tying her rope. Fear was for the weak. The ascent stretched over 5 brutal days. Cliffs crumbled under their boots, winds shrieked like banshees, and fog thickened into a choking veil. On day 2, Finn's compass spun wild, and Lena found a rusted piton etched with "Turn back." Zara pressed on, scaling a sheer face as rocks rained down. One grazed Jace's shoulder, his drone wobbling as he cursed. By day 4, they camped on a ledge, the storm raging. Finn swore he heard whispers in the wind, and Lena spotted shadows, tall, eyeless, darting below. At dawn, Jace's drone caught it, a red glow pulsing in a crevasse high above, its hum rattling their gear. Zara led the rappel, ropes swaying as the mist turned to a chorus. Climb! Deeper! The crevasse swallowed them into a labyrinth of ice and stone, walls slick with black ichor, stalactites dripping red sap that hissed on their skin. Finn mapped the twists, but the tunnels defied logic. Paths looped, dead ends vanished, and carvings emerged. skeletal hands clawing upward, eyes weeping tar. On the second day underground, Lena's flare revealed a cavern of bones, skulls stacked into an altar, their sockets glowing faintly red. At its center, the crimson shard, jagged and pulsing, veins of light snaking through the air. Zara seized it, and the abyss roared, a shriek that cracked the ceiling, the shard burning her palm, whispering, "Solve me, or serve me." The walls bled tar, shadows surged, eyeless figures with clawing hands, and Jace's drone sparked as a stalactite impaled it. Finn deciphered altar runes, 3 trials to claim or feed the void. The first trial struck, a pit opened, tar surging with skeletal hands. Zara shattered one with her ice axe, but it reformed, snagging Lena's leg. She fired, bullets sinking into the ooze. They fled to the second trial, a chasm spanned by a bone bridge swaying under their weight. Jace slipped, dangling as hands clawed from below. Finn and Lena hauled him up, the bridge snapping behind them. The third trial loomed, a stone gate, its riddle in blood. Offer what you seek. Zara pressed the shard to it. It flared, melting the lock. But Finn grabbed her. It's a trap. Too late. The gate swung open, and the dark roared, pulling them in. The gate led to a cathedral of doom, stalagmites piercing a ceiling of writhing bones, a vortex of red mist churning above, the air thick with rot and screams. The crimson shard flared, its light searing the walls, and the Veiled One rose, a colossus of twisted flesh and jagged bone, its face a shroud of writhing tendrils, red eyes blazing, a twin shard pulsing in its chest. "You solved me," it roared, its voice a legion of the lost. The floor erupted, tar hands seizing Lena, snapping her rifle, dragging her into the pit. Her body burst into smoke, her scream echoing in the chant. Finn swung his pickaxe, shattering a tendril. It regrew, piercing his chest, his body crumbling to ash as his map burned, his voice joining the dirge. Jace fired his flare gun, the blast illuminating the horror. It exploded midair, tendrils spearing his skull, his body dissolving into a wail that fed the chorus. Zara dodged a claw, the shard fusing to her hand, forcing her deeper as the cavern quaked. Stalactites rained, tunnels sealed. She climbed a bone ridge, seeking escape, but the Veiled One lunged, its claws tearing her shoulder, pinning her to the stone. The shard fused to her chest, her blood boiling into tar, her vision flooding with red. She hacked at it with her axe, but the mist surged, a vortex swallowing her screams, her reflection in the shard, now eyeless, her mouth a gaping maw chanting endlessly. The abyss shuddered, then fell still. Weeks later, climbers found the crevasse sealed, a rusted piton dangling, the crimson shard atop a ledge, pulsing faintly. Finn's burnt map lay nearby, Lena's bullet casing glinting, Jace's shattered camera humming with static, Zara's voice pleading, "Don't climb," before laughing, cold and inhuman. At night, the peaks hum with 4 voices, Zara, Finn, Lena, Jace, calling through the storm. Their chant a riddle. Climb, solve, fall. The mist thickens, whispering your name. The shards glow, daring you to ascend, to unravel its curse, and join its song. The Shattered Veil, a doomed expedition beyond the edge, in the frozen wastes of an uncharted Arctic expanse where the sky bled auroras of unnatural hue. A rift tore through the ice. The Shattered Veil, a portal whispered to bridge worlds. Legends spoke of the Veil Key, a relic lost with a 1920s expedition said to unlock cosmic secrets or summon a terror that feeds on reality itself. The Inuit elders warned, "Cross it, and you're no longer yours." A faded log found in the snow read, "We saw the light. It saw us." This is the saga of Cade and his crew, who braved the ice, chased the unknown, and plunged into a nightmare that rewrites the soul. Cade, 32, a grizzled explorer with frostbite scars and a relentless drive, led his team into the Arctic's heart. With him were Mira, a sharp-witted archaeologist clutching a satchel of old maps; Torin, a burly engineer with a toolkit and a grim humor; Sasha, a quiet medic with a knack for survival, her eyes always scanning; and Eli, a young physicist with a spectrometer and a thirst for the impossible. Their mission, the Veil Key, tied to a vanished team who'd radioed of a shifting light before silence claimed them. At an Inuit outpost, a trembling elder thrust a bone-carved totem at Cade. "It's no key, it's a cage. Something waits beyond." Cade grinned, checking his rifle. He'd beaten the wild before. The trek spanned 7 grueling days. Sleds groaned over ice, blizzards clawed their tents, and the auroras pulsed red, green, then black, unnatural and alive. On day 3, Torin's compass shattered, its needle spinning into fragments, and Mira found a rusted flare gun half buried, its casing etched with "no return." By day 5, Sasha heard whispers in the wind, soft, then sharp, calling their names. At dusk on day 7, Eli's spectrometer spiked, detecting a rift ahead, a jagged tear in the ice, its edges shimmering with a red-black glow, a hum rattling their bones. Cade anchored ropes, and they descended, the cold turning to a suffocating heat as the veil loomed below. The rift opened into a labyrinth of ice and stone. Tunnels glinted with crystalline walls, reflecting distorted versions of their faces, some eyeless, some screaming. Mira's maps failed. The paths twisted, looping impossibly, carvings emerging, skeletal figures clawing at stars, their mouths gaping. On day 2 below, Torin's flashlight caught a cavern of relics, sled fragments, frozen journals, and bones scattered like offerings. At its center, the Veil Key, a jagged crystal orb pulsing red, its light bending the air. Cade seized it, and the veil screamed, a howl that cracked the ice, the orb flaring, whispering, "Unravel me!" The walls bled black tar, shadows surged, tall figures with hollow faces, their claws slashing, and Eli's spectrometer sparked, frying as the hum turned to voices. Mira deciphered a journal page, 5 gates to freedom, or its feast. The first gate hit. A tunnel collapsed, tar hands erupting, snagging Sasha's leg. Cade fired, shattering them, but they reformed, forcing a retreat. The second gate, a frozen lake, its ice cracking underfoot. Torin fell through, clawing as eyeless faces pressed against the underside, dragging him down, his scream bubbling up. The third gate, a chasm spanned by a rope bridge of sinew and bone. Mira slipped, dangling as hands clawed from below, Eli hauling her up as the bridge frayed. The fourth gate, a chamber of mirrors, reflecting their fears. Sasha saw her own corpse, Eli his eyeless self, shattering as they fled. The fifth gate loomed, a stone arch, its riddle etched in tar. "Give what you are." Cade hesitated, then pressed the orb. It flared, the arch melting, and the void beyond roared. The arch opened to a cathedral of chaos, crystalline spires pierced a ceiling of writhing ice, a vortex of red-black mist swirling above, the air thick with decay and screams. The veil key flared, its light searing the walls, and the veil warden rose, a colossus of fractured bone and pulsing flesh, its face a void of tendrils, red eyes blazing, a twin orb embedded in its chest. "You unraveled me!" it bellowed, its voice a chorus of the broken. The floor split. Tar hands surged, seizing Sasha. She stabbed with her scalpel, but they tore her apart, her body dissolving into smoke, her wail feeding the chant. Eli fired a flare. It exploded midair, tendrils piercing his chest, his body crumbling to ash as his scream joined the dirge. Mira swung her pickaxe, shattering a tendril. It regrew, wrapping her throat, her maps burning as she choked, her voice echoing in the chorus. Cade dodged claws, the orb fusing to his hand, forcing him deeper as the cavern quaked. Spires rained, tunnels sealed. He climbed a crystalline ledge, seeking escape, but the warden lunged, its tendrils tearing his rifle, pinning him to the ice. The orb fused to his chest, his blood boiling into tar, his vision flooding with red. Visions of his crew, eyeless, chanting his name. He hacked at the warden with his axe, but the vortex surged, mist swallowing him, his reflection in the orb, now a hollow mask, his mouth a gaping maw, screaming endlessly. The veil shuddered, then fell still. Months later, a rescue team found the a rusted sled buried nearby, the veil key atop it, pulsing faintly. Sasha's scalpel glinted. Torin's toolkit lay cracked. Eli's burnt spectrometer hummed with static. Cade's voice pleading, "Stay away," before laughing, cold and alien. At night, the ice hums with 5 voices, Cade, Mira, Torin, Sasha, Eli, calling through the auroras, their chant a riddle. Cross, unravel, break. The mist shifts, whispering your name. The orbs glow, daring you to step beyond the edge. The Whispering Hollow. Secrets of the Cursed Depths. In the heart of an ancient forest, where the trees stood as sentinels of forgotten time, a cavern sank into the earth, the Whispering Hollow, a wound in the ground that breathed secrets. Legend spoke of the hollow heart, a relic carved from bone and shadow, said to hold the voices of the lost, or unleash a curse that binds the living to its will. The locals whispered, "Enter, and it speaks your name." A weathered journal found in the roots of an oak warned, "We heard it call. It never stopped." This is the tale of Rowan and her crew, who ventured into the depths, chased the whispers, and fell into a nightmare that echoes forever. Rowan, 30, a fearless ranger with a scar across her brow and a past shadowed by loss, led her team into the forest's embrace. With her were Theo, a gruff botanist with a machete and a notebook of strange flora. Isla, a wiry folklorist clutching a recorder for eerie tales. Cal, a stoic survivalist with a crossbow and steady hands. And Nora, a nervous cartographer with a compass and a map of old trails. Their quest, the Hollow Heart, tied to a missing 18th century settlement whose final letter read, "The whispers took us." At a forest outpost, an old woman with trembling hands pressed a twig talisman into Rowan's palm. "It's no treasure, it's a trap. The Hollow owns all who hear." Rowan smirked, slinging her pack. She'd tracked beasts. This was her hunt. The journey spanned 8 days. Trees loomed taller, their bark etched with claw-like runes, the air thick with a hum that pulsed in their ears. On day 3, Nora's compass spun wild, and Theo found a tree bleeding black sap, its roots coiled around a rusted locket inscribed, "Flee." By day 5, Isla's recorder caught whispers, soft, pleading, murmuring their names in the wind. At dusk on day 8, Cal's lantern lit the hollow, a gaping maw in the earth, its edges lined with roots that writhed faintly, a low chant rising. "Come, listen." Rowan rigged ropes, and they descended, the air turning frigid, the walls glistening with tar that mirrored their shadows, distorted, eyeless, reaching. The tunnels twisted, a maze of roots and stone, the whispers growing into voices, some weeping, some laughing, echoing from nowhere. On day 2 below, Theo's machete struck a hollow root. It split, revealing a chamber of relics, cracked lanterns, tattered cloaks, and bones woven into the walls, their skulls humming faintly. At its center, the hollow heart, a bone orb pulsing with a sickly green glow, shadows swirling within. Rowan seized it, and the hollow wailed, a scream that shook the earth, the orb flaring, whispering, "Hear me, free me." The walls bled tar, roots lashed like whips, shadows surged, figures with hollow faces, their mouths gaping, voices spilling forth, and Nora's map ignited, burning to ash. Isla deciphered a bone carving, 6 trials to silence or join the song. The first trial struck, a tunnel flooded with tar, hands clawing at Cal. He fired his crossbow, bolts sinking uselessly, forcing a retreat. The second, a root bridge over a chasm. Theo slipped, dangling as whispers begged him to fall, Isla pulling him up as roots snapped. The third, a chamber of skulls, their eyes glowing. Nora froze, hearing her own voice scream, the skulls chanting her fears. The fourth, a stone maze, walls shifting. Cal carved markers, but they vanished, trapping them in loops. The fifth, a pit of bones. Isla's recorder played her own death cry, the bones rattling as they climbed. The sixth loomed, a root-wrapped arch, its riddle in whispers. Offer what you hear. Rowan pressed the orb. It pulsed, the arch unraveling, and the void beyond sang. The arch opened to a cathedral of dread, roots coiled into a ceiling of writhing bones, a vortex of green-black mist swirling above, the air thick with rot and endless voices. The hollow heart flared, its glow searing the walls, and the hollow keeper rose, a towering entity of twisted roots and decayed flesh, its face a void of gaping mouths, green eyes blazing, a twin orb pulsing in its chest. "You heard me," it sang, its voice a chorus of the damned. The floor erupted. Tar hands seized Nora, snapping her compass. She clawed at them, but they tore her apart, her body dissolving into smoke, her scream joining the song. Cal fired his crossbow. It splintered midair, roots piercing his chest, his body crumbling to ash as his voice fed the chant. Isla swung her machete, shattering a root. It regrew, wrapping her throat, her recorder burning as she choked, her wail echoing in the chorus. Theo dodged tendrils, the orb fusing to his hand. He hacked it off with his machete, screaming as tar poured from the wound, his arm dissolving into the void. Rowan climbed a root spire, seeking silence, but the keeper lunged, its mouths biting her shoulder, pinning her to the stone. The orb fused to her chest, her blood boiling into tar, her vision flooding with green, visions of her crew hollow-eyed, chanting her name. She slashed at the keeper, but the vortex surged, mist swallowing her, her reflection in the orb now a gaping mask, her voice a wail that never ends. The hollow shuddered, then fell still.
Months later, hikers found the cavern sealed, a rusted machete buried nearby, the hollow heart atop it, pulsing faintly. Cal's broken crossbow glinted, Isla's melted recorder hummed, Rowan's voice pleading, "Don't listen," before laughing, cold and eternal. At night, the forest hums with 5 voices, Rowan, Theo, Isla, Cal, Nora, calling through the trees, their song a riddle. Hear, free, fade. The roots stir, whispering your name, the orbs glow, daring you to descend and heed its call.